Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner, and this is my review of a new VH1 reality show. Yes, they have another damn reality show, and this one is called Baller Wives, which is basically just basketball wives for football wives. And this is season 1, episode 1. So let's get into this shit. If you have not done so already, go ahead, subscribe to my channel. Because why? I like new subscribers. You can also like my videos. You can also share my videos. But most importantly, I just like new subscribers. Watch and share and all that goodness and stuff. You also know there is a comment section below. Go ahead and scroll down and put in whatever comments you see fit, except there's one rule. Please be respectful to me and to anyone else putting in comments. So thank you very much. And so Baller Wives is just basically football wives. That's the only difference. Also, the women on Baller Wives are actually married to people who are, well, either was playing, or most of them are retired. I think one girl, her husband is currently playing, but they're all actually wives. You know what I'm saying? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. It's basically starring Mike Vick and his wife, Kiafa. Now, I kept hearing about Kiafa, being his wife or whatever, and I kept on saying, when I kept seeing her name, I'm like, damn, am I gonna be able to pronounce her name? Because it's spelled with a J, and I'm like, is it Kiaja? I just did not know how it was spelled or how it was pronounced. But when she said, "Oh, hi, I'm Kiafa," now I was like, well, damn, bitch, the J is silent. I mean, what's the J for if you ain't supposed to pronounce it? I don't get why somebody puts a J in a name and it's not supposed to be pronounced. Like, my name is Jay Lee, Jaylee. There's no need for any extra J. Like, they thought a silent J in my name. But yeah, her name is Kiafa. Okay, whatever. So Kiafa Vick and Mike Vick, as most people know, is a football player. He's currently retired. He was also known because he was arrested and put in prison for dogfighting years, maybe like 6, 7, 8. It was a while ago. It might have even been 10 years. It was a while ago. It was within the last 10 years that he was arrested for dogfighting and everything. So the beginning scene is basically, clearly they shot this beginning scene after they had recorded the whole season, because the beginning scene was Kiafa talking to Mike about his comments that he made that Colin Kaepernick, I might be pronouncing his name wrong, about how Colin should have cut his hair to be able to play in the football, to be able to play and get further on in the NFL. And of course, he got all kind of backlash, because why would you tell a black man to cut his hair in order for people to accept him? That was stupid. So yeah, the beginning scene was basically her saying, why would you say that? And their whole conversation was fake. I don't mean fake as in the scene didn't happen. I mean, they knew they had to address that on this show. I wish they would have, and they couldn't really address it at the end of the episode because other stuff was happening. But, I'm still like, we can clearly see that this was just recently shot. Like, this is a brand new scene, mainly because it just happened within the past month, I believe. And we know for a fact Baller Wives has been shot, edited, cut, and pasted, and everything together by VH1 months ago. So, they shot this whole scene. And for me, it was a fake conversation. And I mean fake because it seemed rehearsed. You know what I'm saying? She like, why would you say that? That was crazy. And he's like, you're right. What I said was wrong. No one should be stereotyped based on their race in order to get anything or whatever. What he said, it just sounded like he had been rehearsing it. And they were like, look, the show is coming out. You said something fucking stupid. We need you to fix it. So we need you to say this. Have that kind of conversation. And for me, that's what it sounded like. I don't mean he didn't mean it. It doesn't mean that wasn't how he really felt. My thing is, it just didn't come off as an authentic conversation. It came off as, we have to shoot this scene so we can address this controversy at the beginning of the show. Even Kiafa saying how she didn't want any more negative press, meaning when they went through the whole thing with the dogfight situation, she didn't want anything more negative within their family. But this scene was clearly shot after they shot the season, and you can honestly tell. So, when the show actually really does start, Kiafa and even when the show came on, like, they both look different. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can tell this wasn't the same week or the same day. Like, you can tell that this was, she wasn't as, you can just tell there was a difference. You know what I'm saying? She even seemed on camera initially in the first scene, the first talking to Vic about the whole controversy, like she was used to being on camera. But when it go back to the regular start of the episode, you can tell she kind of knew, and you know what I'm saying, it's a little bit weird from them both. So anywho, it's just them, and they're in the house and they're chilling or whatever. And it's her saying how he's retired now, how she loves her husband, and he's retired and he's basically, doing nothing, playing golf, hanging out, being a retired football player. And she's like, I love my husband, but he's getting on my motherfucking nerve because he ain't got nothing to do. And they both do discuss the dog fighting. And that was something else I knew that first scene couldn't have been initially their first scene, because they would have first talked about that goddamn dog fighting. So in this scene, they are talking about the dog fighting. She's bringing up how it was hard for their family, how he was arrested and sent to prison for the whole dog fighting situation. How hard it was for their then 3-year-old daughter to realize daddy is going to jail. She would say how her daughter would come around and say, Mom, I looked all over the house and I can't find dad, because the baby didn't understand daddy's in jail. He not coming home right now. He bring up, how he wish he could do things over, how he know he made mistakes, but he also feels like he has to go to prison to change. I don't know why people feel like they have to go to prison to change. You can change it at the house. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to change in prison. And everybody said they go to prison and they change. But anywho, he said he went to prison. It changed him. It calmed him down a little bit. Made him think, well, of course, when you had time to just sit down somewhere, you ain't got nothing else to do when you're in prison, you do think and do whatever. Even she was saying, well, yeah, he felt like, he did the crime, so he had to go to prison. Me personally, I don't think prison time for dog fighting was appropriate. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been arrested and charged with some kind of crime, but I'm like, prison, you got people killing people and they don't go to jail, and you gonna put this man in prison for some dogs? I just didn't get it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get it in the aspect of people kill people and they don't get prison time, but he was had dogs fighting and he went to prison. I think it was 3 years. It was some astronomical amount of time too. But anywho, he's out of prison and that's all good and done or whatever. So the next scene we see is Kiafa introducing her friends, and I can already tell I'm gonna like this series. I can already tell that all these ladies are almost batshit crazy in a good way. Not Jackie batshit crazy, but batshit crazy in a brand new, I want to see what it's like show kind of way. We have Geneva Samuel. She is the wife of Asante. He's a retired football player. Asante Samuel. We have Asia Crowder, who's the wife of Channing Crowder, also a retired football player. There was a girl in here named Ty Dansby she's about to be the ex-wife of somebody. They didn't even say her husband's name, so clearly they is getting a real ass divorce because she can't even say her name. Because every other character, when they introduce the character, they would say, "Hi, I'm Asia Crowder. I'm married to so and so. Hi, I'm Kiafa Vic. I'm married to Michael Vic." She just said, she didn't even introduce herself. They just said her name, and she going through a divorce, and her husband is the only man she's ever been with. So I'm guessing she's not a main character. She's like a B character. So they were all just talking and sitting around there at Kiafa's house. And it's just a regular conversation of the girls. And then they bring up how Kiafa is not friends with another baller wife, who's her neighbor who stays across the street. Literally stays across the fucking street. And they're not friends basically due to a dog situation. It's stupid. I'm going to tell you about it in a minute. Her name is Stacy Chambers, and she's the wife of Chris Chambers. Stacy had her friend there, Miko Grimes, and she's wife of Brent Grimes. Brent is a current football player. Stacey's husband, Chris, is also retired, but Miko's husband, Brent, is a current player. She's also a former basketball player. So that's all cool. But supposedly Kiafa, I have it spelled on my thing so I can know how to pronounce it. I have it spelled K-E-A-H-F-A. Kiafa. Yep, syllables. Anywho, Kiafa is talking about why her and Stacey do not get along as neighbors. And so as Stacey's having that same conversation with her girl about why her and Kiafa don't get along. So apparently a while ago, Kiafa's dog at the point in time was about 4 months, as Kiafa says, chased or ran after Stacey. And I don't know if Stacey got bit, if the dog licked her, or what happened. But of course, when the dog chased you, you scared as shit. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and my Aunt Willie had a Chihuahua, and I had to be maybe in the first grade. You know, I was a kid, and her dog name was Lady. Man, Lady chased my ass out the house across the street, and I jumped on top of a car. It was a little bitty Chihuahua, but I'm scared of dogs. So if you are scared of dogs, and no matter what size the dog is, if it chases you, you scared shitless. And people with dogs who aren't afraid of dogs sometimes don't get, you know what I'm saying, that you're scared and that the situation, you know, traumatized you, scared you, and you just didn't like it. So that's their beef. And Kiafa is saying that she apologized to the girl. The girl is saying that she did not apologize, and they basically don't like each other for that. For me, that's a dumbass reason. I don't know why that's coming on the show, but you know, the storyline of the women has to come from somewhere, so that's where it's coming from. We can kind of see that Kiafa is the Shaunie O'Neal. It's the, you know, how Shaunie O'Neal was the main person on Basketball Wives Miami, or even Evelyn Lozada, you know, or she's a Jackie Christie. She's kind of the, you know, main one, shall we say, of this particular franchise. What we do find out, though, with Stacey Chambers isn't so innocent. No, ma'am, no, sir, no, she not. Stacey allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly, stalked her husband, the guy she's married to now. So the story is, Stacey was not his first wife. When he was married before, he was cheating on his wife with Stacey. And Stacey did not want to stop messing with this married man. And she basically stalked his wife, stalked his wife's mother, stalked his wife's sister, stalked him, was allegedly stalking him at the facility where he worked. The NFL has their own training facilities or whatever. She supposedly was there trespassing and stalking him. There was, he got a restraining order against her. The wife that he was married to at the time sued her for harassment, for stalking, all this stuff. Just stuff. It's just a fucking mess. But for some reason, he then still divorced his wife. And not only did he divorce his wife, he divorced his wife and married Stacey not a month later after he divorced his wife. Even though he also kind of got fired for messing with her, he says that he chose love over marriage. Love over his job. Stacey is a sad bitch who took her man from his wife. Point blank, period. The fact that, there are court records and police reports of her literally stalking this man. Literally stalking him. Him and his wife was going to go to courts about this, and then they did not go, and the next thing you know, him and his wife was getting a divorce. So he, they later talked about the story, and he says he saw her, and I'm going to talk about that part a little bit later, because I got all off into it, because I'm just like, this is her, the craziness of her. Anywho, we'll get back to that in 1 second. The friend, Miko Grimes. She is also not far removed from bullshit. She purposely got her husband fired from the team he was playing for at the time. Mainly because her husband wanted to change teams. The team did not want to let him out of his contract. So, as she said, what did she say? She said, I did what real bitches do and got my man what he wanted. She went on Twitter, did a full-fledged, vulgar, cuss-out Twitter rant against his team, which made his team then fire him. So she said, I went on Twitter purposely to get him fired. I knew that if I was loud enough and rude enough and bad enough on Twitter, they would fire him just to get me off their ass, just to leave them alone. And she was like, so I did purposely get him fired. Okay, boo, do you? So, of course, them two are friends. For me, that's just weird, just entirely, but whatever. So the whole time, Kiafa's at her house talking with her friends while Stacy's at her house talking to her one friend. Mike Vick is upstairs and he hear Kiafa them downstairs talking. And, she's talking about, of course, how Stacy stalked her now husband and basically forced a real relationship. He divorced his wife and he married her. So she was like, is she like the queen of sidekicks because she actually got the husband out of it? And Mike hears her say this and he's like, really, Kiafa? Really? Why does he do that? Because him and the husband are actually friends. And that's the hard part about when your significant other was beefing with somebody who you cool with their significant other. Like if the two wives are beefing and the husbands don't have no issues, they friends. But they have to each support their wife, and it's weird for that to be going on. Mike says, him and Chris are friends, but their wife having issues. It's hard for them to deal with their friendship because they both also have to support their wives. I completely understand that. So, yeah. They had one other little scene where they introduced Kelly Jones, who's the wife of Julius Jones, a retired football player. They've been married for 10 years. He happens to be African American. She happens to be white. That comes up later on in the episode. But he basically admits that, they had a rough road to, being married for all this time. When they met, how he was young. And people know how sometimes when they're younger in the league, how they go around and they fucking everything that's moving. And with some, I'm not saying all, some. And he admits that they had obstacles, meaning he was fucking everything that moved. And she says that her mama told her when she first started dating him, was like, do you really want to be with him? And she's like, yeah, I love him. And then her mama told her, well, you need to hold the fuck on because it's going to be a bumpy ass ride. I agree with that when you're dating anyone in NFL, NBA, even the baseball league, if you're dating anyone that's playing sports, they're going to be groupies because they're men who is making a lot of money and groupies just come with it. I'm not saying all men cheat, but I am saying it has to be extremely hard not to. You know what I'm saying? Just because pussy is consistently being thrown in your face. And some men are just weak. And again, I'm not saying all men. So he admits that he there were a lot of obstacles. He was out here fucking people. And she admits that she knew they were going to have a hard road, mainly because he was so young and he was a young football player. But she also said the wife, who's again, her name is Kelly, she was like, you know what? And I'm a firm believer that no man turns down a blowjob. Bitch, what? First of all, that's what her thought process was. But they were having dinner with Jessica Payne and Logan Payne, who's they're married. He's a retired football player too. They've only been married a month, so they're like newlyweds. So Kelly and her husband was basically giving them advice on, with them being 10 years in and Jessica and her husband being a month in, like, look, it wasn't easy. It took time. They now have 2 kids together, over these 10 years, and they are now happy. But he like, look, it was a whole bunch of obstacles missing. It was a whole bunch of coochies in between me and her, and I had to get myself together. But now I'm happy and in love with my wife. So, yeah. That was the next little episode, scene. So we see Kiafa. She's having dinner with a few friends, and she invites Stacy. And Stacy, of course, brings Miko. So, Kiafa brought Geneva, who was one of her friends. They start talking about, their issue, the divide between Kiafa and Stacy. And Kiara says, you know what, the whole dog situation, I apologize to you. I came over to your house and I apologized. And Stacey was like, no, you didn't. And she was like, well, no, I did come over there. And she was like, no, you didn't. You sent your daughter over to my house. You didn't apologize to me personally. So Kiara like, maybe I'm tripping. I could have swore I did. Maybe I didn't. Whatever. So they're kind of having this little bit of a conversation, trying to say who apologized, who didn't apologize, who went over, who went over, who didn't go over. Geneva then goes on to say, but you said you wasn't messy though, right? And Stacey like, no, I'm not messy. Not at all. And she's like, but didn't you go over to Kiara's house and tell her, who she should and shouldn't hang out with? And they like, what are you talking about? So Kiara then says that Stacey came over to her house and basically told her that someone she knew was sleeping with sleeping with Geneva's husband. Geneva didn't get all hype because, of course, she pissed off because you is acting like you ain't messy and you are messy. And she then says, Stacey, you is messy, you a stripper, and that you fucked my husband in the car. I was like, bitch, what? She fucked your husband? When, bitch? How do you I don't think there's a rule that if your husband sleeps with someone before y'all were together, that y'all can't be in the same room and have some kind of cordial something. I don't know. But, this shit seemed messy because y'all don't like each other. And, Geneva's I won't say she's upset, but she's hyped. Because she's like, bitch, you a stripper. You a messy stripper. You fucked my husband in the car. Now, we come to find out, supposedly she fucked Geneva's husband in this car behind the strip club before him and Geneva was together. So she's not saying that you cheated with my husband or my husband cheated on me with you, but she's saying, bitch, I know from the past you a messy stripper who fucked men in back of cars. That's kind of crazy. Kiara then say, well, I did know that Stacey fucked Geneva's husband, but I didn't think Geneva cared much because she don't talk about it because it happened so long ago. So y'all all just know that she out here fucking people's husbands from the past, and it's cool. It was just it was a hot ass mess. And then Geneva goes on to say, and you fucked my brother too. So she fucked your husband and your brother? Really? So what? It was just so, I was like, this was juicy. I was like, oh my God. Stacey's little fucking mess if she fucked the husband and the brother. Because that's, how do you, if my husband wasn't my husband at that time, so my brother and my husband might not have been around each other, how did you fuck two people within the same, you fucked two men that's connected to one woman? It was just so fucking confusing. And Kiara was like, I'm trying to stay I'm trying to stay quiet. I don't want to turn up because I have to consistently remind myself that I am representing my husband. She was like, but Stacey got bodies on her coochie. She showed because if you fuck somebody's husband and their goddamn brother, that's at least two bodies that's connected. And bodies should never connect. So, it's that whole scene. They're all kind of arguing and whatever, and then it kind of like goes to commercial. It comes back, and it's like 8 months later. I'm like, goddamn, 8 months? So y'all shot this show. And that's why I also said we know that scene that Michael Vick and his wife shot in the beginning was recently shot. Especially if y'all had this goddamn dinner fighting scene, and then the next scene is 8 months later. And what do we see is going on 8 months later? Stacey, the person who fucked Geneva's husband and Geneva's brother, is now 8 months pregnant with her husband's baby. The same husband who she stalked for a while and got him to divorce his wife. Yes, that goddamn Stacey is not pregnant. Pregnant with their pregnant with their second child, a little girl. He is now on the screen. He's saying how he wants a third child because he wants a junior. This is when they kind of go in with how they met and things like that. So he look, basically I saw her, I liked her, and I kind of walked up to her. She then says, well, he lied to me about his name. I did not know his last name, and he did not tell me he was married. I didn't find out he was married until I found out his last name. She then says, once I found out he was married, He got a separation. I moved to San Diego and we got married. Bitch, it's a whole bunch of shit in between there. Because that's not even how life goes. You don't find out somebody's married, move to San Diego, and then get married. That ain't how life goes. At all. So you already know it's some bullshit up in the goddamn water because somebody's lying. It ain't that fucking simple. However, we do know that she stalked that man's wife's sister, and that man's wife's mother. And she stalked him. He even says, my team was contacted about something. They got involved in my personal life. Some things was investigated, and then I picked love over my career. Meaning, she was doing some bullshit. Your employers got pissed off and tried to investigate her for doing some bullshit. You let it be investigated for so long until you gave in or whatever, fell in love or whatever you want to call it, and you married her. And as I said, they got married 1 month after his divorce from his wife was final. He is even then saying how his friendship with Mike has been strained due to their wife's issues. He says that Kiafa has an issue with you. You don't have an issue with Kiafa. And, she needs to work on that. I was just like, bitch, what? It was a little bit weird. So, yeah, that whole scene. There was a little bit of a scene with Geneva with her husband, and he wants to start boxing. She is worried about boxing because boxing, of course, is a dangerous sport, and she doesn't want him to do it, and it's that whole conversation. But that doesn't need me to talk about it because that's what it was. She don't want him boxing. He wants to box, bottom line. The next scene is Miko is doing, I guess she has a radio podcast that she does, and she invites Julius Jones to be a guest on her podcast. And Julius Jones is the guy who happens to have a Caucasian wife. Nothing against that. And she brings up him having a white wife. She says, black women get upset when they see you holding hands with your white wife. Is there a reason why, you married a white woman? And he goes on to say how, when he grew up around white people, how he really didn't have a girlfriend early on. And once he did start dating girls, he just happened to like white women. Now, I don't know if the women he was cheating on his wife with were black or white. I don't know that. I didn't investigate that before I did this video. What he did say was, the woman I fell in love with is my wife, and she happens to be white. You know what? I can't do shit, but you know what I'm saying? Congrats to you, boo-boo. You love what you love. You like what you like. Love is love. Next, I'm not even going to go anymore on that. He did also bring up how, he loves football. He loves the sport of football. It's the sport that he plays, the sport that he loves, but it's a very dangerous sport. He was speaking out against CTE and against concussion injuries to football players. And Miko did ask him, why is it that players will have a concussion, will have medical issues, and they will not address them in order to keep playing? And he was like, it's simple, because there's always somebody, who wants your spot. And when you love the game, you'll do anything to continue playing it, even if it's detrimental to your health. He does say, I love the game, but it really fucked me up. I was like, okay, real moment. I like the fact that the husbands are on here speaking about things just in general. So, that was cool. Next, we see Miko and Geneva hanging out with their kids. Pretty great moment, mothers out with their children. That was great. Miko, I keep saying her damn name wrong, was talking to Geneva and just saying how she feels like Stacy has things she wants to get off her chest, things she wants to discuss about her fucking other people's husbands. Or if that's even true of her fucking other people in general. She also says that how Kiafa feels like she's the queen and they are peasants. Not that well, I think she was saying that that's how she felt, and maybe also a little bit how Stacy felt too. But Miko made the point of, like, bitch, we all live in the same gated community. So if Kiafa did feel like she was the queen and she did feel like she was over them, well, you can't be, because we all live in the same goddamn neighborhood. So we all are equal. You ain't above or over any of us, bitch. We all queens. And I say, you know what? I agree. So, that was the whole conversation there. The last scene to me was the pettiest of the petty, and it was crazy as fuck. They're at a rooftop party, and most of the ladies are there. Kiafa's there, Geneva's there. We see Miko comes, Stacy comes as well. There were some other people there, but I'm not gonna go into who all was there because this was the basis of it. So Kiafa and her group of friends are at one table. Stacy and Miko is at another table, and they're having their own fun. Stacy's 9 months pregnant, and she's come to this party to cause havoc. I'm a firm believer in, bitch, if you pregnant, go sit the fuck down, because if you piss me off, I can't even pop you. And I also feel like when you're a pregnant person, you shouldn't put yourself in situations where you will be the victim regardless because you're pregnant. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, you can't be pregnant all up in people's faces, because again, if you piss somebody off and they swing, you're pregnant. And my thing is also, if you're pregnant, you shouldn't want to cause your baby any stress. Like, she was literally 9 months pregnant at this dang on party arguing. Bitch, why? You know what I'm saying? You couldn't argue in a month after you had the baby. Like, you want to argue at this point in time right now, bitch? Right now? I thought that was crazy. So, Stacy goes over to the table where Kiafa, I keep forgetting her damn name, Kiafa is at. And, when she come over to the table, one of Kiafa's friends like, hi y'all, hello. And Stacy's like, why the fuck is she so animated? Why is she trying to be so nice? Well, bitch, all she said was hello. And you can tell already Stacy on some bullshit. If you wasn't trying to come here to have any kind of conversations, don't try to come here and be having, conflicts and issues with people when you 9 months pregnant. So, Stacy is standing there. Kiafa's talking to one of the other girls who was also there, who she's like, oh no, hey Kiafa. Kiafa's like, hey girl, you like my dress? Stacy say, no, we don't. But bitch, she wasn't even talking to you. So my thing is, again, why you coming trying to cause conflict, bitch, when you 9 months pregnant? Sit the fuck down somewhere. So, she then is in her confessional saying, people always got something to say about me or to me, but want nobody talking to you, and you still walked over there starting shit. So you the one causing conflict. So they kind of arguing back and forth, saying how each other look. Kiafa says her jewelry looks cheap, and Kiafa's kind of popping off at the mouth, and Kiafa like, she tripping because she ain't took her medication. She just going crazy, she need her medication. Stacy then says, nah, bitch, your mama needs to take her medication. She's like, well, she can't because she dead. So she can't. And then Stacy says, well, good. Bitch, did you say good because her mama dead? I mean, and at that point, I'm like, that's something. If that was me, Stacy would have got popped. You know what I'm saying? Just because I don't play by my parents at all. And I don't get how a pregnant mother can say it's good that somebody's mother is dead. That, to me, is overkill. And it was some bullshit. I was in my head trying to calm myself down because I'm like, this bitch really said that. So I just feel like Stacy 9 months pregnant and she her ass whooped. And I think she need to go sit down somewhere. Because again, they going back and forth trying to have a conversation. And, Kiafa was like, no, not Kiafa. Stacy was like, well, basically, my issue is I don't like Kiafa, And so Miko was like, well, do y'all not want to, solve the conflict? And she was like, no. I don't want to be her friend. And Kiafa's like, I'm the same way. I'm fine with that. And at that point, Stacy like, all y'all fake. All y'all ain't shit. All y'all husband cheats. You want you a Chris Chambers? You want you a Chris Chambers? Bitch, now you Oprah, you giving out goddamn Chris Chambers? Basically saying all the women want a husband like hers. Bitch, they already have husbands. You know what I'm saying? And who wants a husband who left his first wife for his second stalker? Okay? Who the fuck wants that? And, that's basically how the episode went off. I mean, for me, I did like the first episode. I don't think I'm going to like Stacy much if she can't calm the fuck down. I can see where Kiafa can kind of get a little aggravating if she's attempting to seem like she's, the top-notch chick. And I'm interested to see where this season go, solely because the men are also included. With Basketball Wives, the only husband that was ever on the show was Doug Christie. No one else's husband was ever really on the show. So for me, I think it'll be a different view when it's not just the wives, their husbands are involved too. For the most part, it's the same as the Housewives of Atlanta, or the Housewives of whatever, where the husbands are actually on the show, and they have confessional conversations and all that stuff. So interested to see how this season plays out. The first episode was good. And yeah, so that's my review of Basketball Wives, Lord Jesus. Baller Wives, episode 1 of season 1. So until next time, people, I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner. Peace.